So this is a piece from my book. It's called Simply Enough. I've gained a stone since you left me. These once protruding bones softened by someone else's love. Because you did leave me, as I always knew you would. Not in body. You still sat there, limbs folded, never splayed apart, closed for your own protection, and your heart neither as open as I once hoped. Mind disconnected, overloaded from all that spiritual information you so tirelessly read, yet somehow always forgot to process. And I know, because I felt it. I heard the words as often as empty as the love you thought you shared. You plucked pieces from me, and like Robin Hood, yet disingenuously, you handed them out to those you thought might care, yet you rarely remembered to replenish me. Though you were right in part when you claimed I tried to please you. Me. Yeah, me, who for 20 years before was adored for being nothing more special than just me. I took your advice on how to wear my hair, or cotton cardis to soften, covered these angry tattoos, which you can't see now, but covered these angry tattoos and threw these boots in the corner because you said they looked too hard. And I was too hard. But you, rarely hard enough. The irony, it almost makes me smile. It should have been quieter, more demure, less offensive, more spiritual, love the environment more and you less, let my hair grey naturally yet somehow still look young, and make patience my thing and spontaneity yours, but of course only ever on your terms, and kept my needs inside myself, never lost my temper yet dropped my guard, be vulnerable, be awake, be open to your journey, but never let you see me cry, so I let you leave me, like this, pretending there is no fight. And in times like now, when all I want to do is reach you, I remind myself of how you made me feel. But you call that projection, my socialised condition of ownership, lust and need, but I've talked around that subject and I've processed that bullshit. And actually, mate, in everyone else's world, that's just called reality. But I'll write instead. And I'll write and write and write. And I'll write until the flesh upon these bones begins to shine again, like it did before I was simply not you're good enough. This is a fairly new sequence of pieces that I've been writing on the MA. Now I'm a buzzbud in the MA. Yes, well. And it's called, I won't explain more than anything else, it's a sequence of 4 poems called The Other Woman. 1. I don't mind you lying in my bed, the afternoon pouring at the window until dusk draws in faded blankets across your chest. I am not your wife, illuminating a muted phone. I don't wash your guilt-ridden clothes or avoid the look you are unable to hide. I don't trade my flesh for weekend chores or keep tally on your bank records. And this evening, as you rehearse your story, I will collect the evidence from these empty rooms. 2. I run dry of ink the moment you turn sharp left. The junction that splits us into 2 directions on the sat-nav, clawing you back home and sketching me through the unleaded stretch of Moonsfield Road. I up the radio and sing, slip the clutch at an unexpected turn on a false gradient. I take the curve with my ringless hand, pushing into higher gears. I race from the signs, the ones that scream for the colourblind. I am no more than your lover. 3. A keep the blankets ruffled with the thought, it's okay not to touch each patchwork side or smooth the frayed edges with the same compulsive indifference you now finger my nipples. You stare at golf on your iPad and linger like uninvited fog on the fairway at the mole to the right of my ribs. I pretend not to notice until, bored of everything, you swipe at the screen, leaving my contours cold. My mind squeezes in preparation for the intensity of my unanswered question, how long before you take your membership and leave? 4. Finally. In the early hours, I feed you far too much for your shrunken belly side to stomach. Soul food, plate licked dry, you lie now in a tangled mess of exhausted linen, your throat in every other breath half choked, wet mouth gaping, ready and waiting for the apple, freshly picked with good intention to dangle before your sleep-blind lids. I wait to finally dress you, my bloated, prize-winning, stuck pig. And this is called 2017. Remember us as kids being told about spiders, how in our sleep they crawled across our faces, laying their eggs in our ears, or was it our mouths and we would eat them? Either way, it freaked me out. And how, if you looked in the mirror at exactly midnight, Satan would stand behind trying to stuff his cock in. Though I have a suspicion this may have just been me. No, of course not. Because I forget sometimes you, us, we are separate. You are not me. And in your world, even 20 years from now, your definition will be something else. Spiders are now gigabytes. Satan is Slender Man. But still, all a distraction from your dysfunctional family. Will you remember the day your mother left your father for a fanatical Buddhist? And if that wasn't bad enough, she then fucked your teacher. And not quietly, no. She was loud about everything. Even these piercing scream of the middle class breakdown just days before Christmas, like she couldn't have fucking waited, like everything had to be about her meltdown, her preoccupation with being the queen of cliches. Even to the anniversary of her own mother's leaving, so she could write out this performance of a lifetime. But she forgets, as you do, that we are all just human. She forgets that sometimes, often, usually, always, she is supposed to put you first. She forgets you are just 15, with an insecurity as blistering as the youth group summers blazoned on her skin without sunscreen, white skin, acne, a designer hoodie hiding the private dental braces, and haircut salvage with daddy's Brill cream. I am so sorry, son. So sorry to leave you flailing amongst the tides that threaten to take you under. I never told you. I have that lifeboat, the pop-up magic trick to take you places you've not dreamt to go to because you don't know. Not yet. You're barely ready to take the rudder. You have so many mistakes I have to watch you go through. Though I can barely breathe and witness the monstrosity of life fuck you up, your young life struck in its beginning by the first whiff of definition, screwed up, spoiled, opportunities galore for you only to decide to stick 2 fingers up at every institution. You have no realization of your heritage. Cattle grazing, grandparents' class struggle, because that really ain't that cool. And then my own mother's Thatcher dilemma of the council house that I called home, and the subsequent Blair meritocracy where they all wore postmodern jumpsuits, shoulder pads to protect what everyone knew as feminist rights, though they journeyed through them with whiskey chasers, Benson and Hedges and dire straits, seemingly just to get you here. And when I was pregnant, you were no more real or present or accountable than the shape-shifting, raised temperature, estrogen-producing, progesterone-defending macabre of a dream world. And you're right, you never asked to be here. You were just two pink lines, new bud growth from an old tree. But why would you? You are just 15. You are Snapchat, streaks, Facebook likes. You are living in your moment of designer-clad, white powder snorting, Instagram liking epiphany of man-made fiber popularity. And I cannot deny that you are nothing more or less than a product of your genes. We are all the same street corner, shopping mall, back of the off-license, simply reunited. Polyester zipped generations of those 90s. Doesn't matter. You say sick. The same way I say nice. And when I was your age, I was sick of this, sick of that, sick of hassle, sick of crap, sick of one-night stands, drinking, drugs, sick of image, fashion, clothes, sick of giving, talking, feeling, breathing. I was sick of living. I was sick. And maybe I am still sick. But tomorrow, maybe, if we try hard enough, we might all be sweet. The we're. Let's try our luck at getting lost and step out in the slant, rain black, storm the path where rivers flood and chip wrappers, dog shit and lichen become one. Let us locate ourselves, or not, by the water's flow, upstream from the bank where his bloated body was found. They think he didn't mean to drown, intimating on social media he was pushed by a gang of needle-hungry tramps. It's a good story. I push down my jeans and squat, piss behind the emergency life float ring. Your clothing fades into the middle of nowhere, and my downstream disappears. You are nature. I stare at the splatter of you across the ceiling, like reflections of the crimson wisps etched in the whites of my eyes. The knife still lies where we found it, untouched, a congealed mass, the final remnants of us. This room stinks of rusty nails, slips of paper and local anaesthetic. My mind looks like binary code, punched, lashes weighed down with dissidence and salt. No matter how many sky blue gowns scrub themselves free of my skin, I am not convinced that this fractal expression of your protest was somehow not everyone else's fault. So they're the end of the really fucking depressing poems.